There's a fire in my soul, in my soul. And every time it burns, that's when I know where to go, where to go, where I am to go.
Welcome to the Behind the Senior Lens podcast. I'm Lori Wood Habiger, your host and photographer with Center Stage Seniors in the Kansas City area. Today, I'm talking to Amanda Howse, who is a photographer in the Seattle area, and I cannot wait to talk with her. So welcome, Amanda. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
So tell me, you have been a photographer for a really long time, haven't you?
Yes, going on over 20 years now.
Wow. So I actually know a little bit about you. You're one of the few of us that have a degree in photography. And so what made you love photography so much that you ended up going to school for that? And tell me the whole history of that.
Yeah, actually, it was kind of funny. So I was living in Boston and I thought I wanted to be an actress on Broadway
Okay.
because, why else when you're 19? What else to do? And so I took a photography class because you had to take an elective, and at the school I was at, and I fell in love with it. Which most of us in the old days, when you actually took a photo in the dark room, and you put it in the tray and you watch it develop, it was like love at first sight. I was just like, oh my gosh, this is it. And it was just so fun. And so I started with film back in the old days.
Yes.
This was the late 90s, probably 1990s. And the rest is history. I decided after my first degree, I did not want to join the real world. So I applied to a photography school and I went and got a second degree in photography and learned everything I could at the time, which is now kind of funny because we didn't even have digital cameras yet. So totally different world and stuff that I use some of it, but not some of it also, because some of it's film.
Yeah. It's so weird to think about, back in the film days, there wasn't things like editing. You would ask that maybe the lab would do some retouching when they printed. I think they could get rid of some blemishes and stuff, right? And with airbrushing, but
Yeah, I don't even know. I know Photoshop was just kind of starting, and we would take our negatives and put them in this little tray that was like this big, and you would stick them in a machine and it would scan them, and then that way they would get into the computer, but you'd only scan like 4 or 5 at a time, and you could like work on your image, but it was the slowest thing you've ever seen, and just drawing something took forever.
So you said this is like the early 90s, is that right?
Late 90s, and then when I went to
Oh,
photography school, early 2000s.
oh, gotcha. Okay. I was thinking I had Photoshop on a computer at work in about 1993. Talk
Yeah, so
about
this
slow.
was, yeah, no, oh yeah, it was slow. I started photography school in 2000, so
Okay.
right about
In,
there.
in like 93, you put any filter on a picture and you literally would just sit and do other things while it did its thing. So,
Yeah,
but
pretty much.
it probably had improved a little bit by the time you got to college.
Yeah, a little bit, but still not the best.
Lightroom, we none of us were using Lightroom at that time. I don't think it was a thing.
No, I think the earliest, if I recall, was around '05 or '06 when
Okay.
Lightroom kind of started, so about 20 years ago.
Oh, see, I started about 20 years ago, but I didn't even know about Lightroom for about 6 years, I think. Boy, that was a miracle.
Yeah, it was really
Of
slow.
course,
And
it's improved. Uh,
yeah, there was another program. I don't remember off the top of my head what it was called that we used for the same idea where there was like strips and you could do a bunch of photos at once.
okay,
So yeah, but that still was so
interesting.
slow. Yeah, and when you
I
shoot
need to go
weddings,
back and look at these things again.
Oh, I know. And when you shoot weddings and as a wedding photographer and you have so many images, it just took
Oh
forever.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when did you switch over to digital?
After I graduated, I went and interned for a wedding photographer, and she was digital. And so obviously I kind of had to. And so
Yeah.
I bought, at the time, Fuji cameras were big. And if you bought a Fuji camera, but you could use your Nikon lenses.
Oh.
Yeah, and so that's what we did. And the screen was probably about the size of an iWatch. So it was like this
Yeah.
little teeny thing, and you could barely see anything. And the cards, I think, were about 512 megabytes, maybe,
Yes, I remember some of those.
and they cost a lot.
Yes. And file sizes were so small. Now I think it's so funny. I remember my first, I had a Nikon D50 is what I started out on. And um, this would have been somewhere around 2008, 2006. Anyway, nowadays people are so scared they can't print a 16 by 20 if they have a 10 megabyte file. And it's like, girl, we
I know.
print 16 by 20s just fine with a 1 megabyte file. That's all
Yeah.
we had. And
Yeah, and I don't think there was RAW either. I'm pretty sure
no,
everything was JPEG. Yeah.
no. I remember I did a studio photography event at a dance studio one time, a long time ago in the beginning, and I had my lights a little too bright. I like blew out the highlights on every girl's face.
Oh
And
no.
I've always hated blown highlights. And like, I about had a panic attack later when I downloaded the pictures. The bad thing about that era without Lightroom is if you blow highlights, there's not a lot you can do in a JPEG to fix that. And
No.
so anyway, now it's just a miracle to me that I can overexpose something a little and I could just fix it later. Did you, right out of college, just go ahead and you interned with a wedding photographer? Did you just go ahead and start your business then as a young woman?
Yeah, so I had to do in the old school because there wasn't smartphones yet. When we were in school, there was internet, but we had to like look up people and either email or call them and say, hey, can I work for you when I get out of school? And so I did that, and I found a girl in the area, and she was so awesome and was like, sure, you can come work for me. And I remember our first wedding, it was in Sacramento, California, and we drove there in her car, and she basically just said, okay, sit in like the fourth pew back, hold your camera, and then as they walk down the aisle, just take pictures and then kind of stick your head out a little. And I knew nothing. I'd never shot a wedding. I was nervous as all get out. It was scary. And so I interned, or not interned, but worked for her for, oh my gosh, how many wedding seasons? Started in the '04 wedding season. So I think I just did '04, '05, '06, and then I moved up to Washington, which is where I currently live now, near Seattle.
So you interned for a few years, and then how did you like make a leap into actual portrait photography rather than weddings?
Oh gosh, I did weddings for 15, somewhere between 15 and 20 years, and then decided I always did family on the side and dabbled in stuff, but mostly wedding photography and events. And then decided, hey, I'm gonna take a class. Like everything, every one of us likes to keep doing workshops and furthering our knowledge. It's just, I find it really fun and continuously learning what's the latest everything. So I found this girl in Oregon and took a class on senior girl photography, which was so far out of left field for me. I just thought, oh, well, this will be fun. And went down there, a bunch of us, there's like 7 girls, all stayed in this big house. And the first time I'd ever done anything like that. And we went out and learned from her, and it was the coolest thing ever. And I fell in love and was like, okay, I'm going to do this because I cannot work weekends anymore after 15 to 20 years of giving up my weekends. And the rest is history. That was about 8 years ago, I believe.
Really? Okay. So did you find it easy to jump into the senior market or did it take you a while?
It was actually pretty easy. I lucked out. One of the big names in the area where I live had stopped doing it, so that kind of left a hole, which was just lucky for me
Yeah.
because they were very famous. And I hired a mentor because I work with lots of different photography mentors and business mentors every year, and just said, "Hey, this is what I want to do. How do you recommend doing it?" Instagram was pretty new. There wasn't any like reels yet or anything like that, or TikTok or video or anything. And she just said, "Oh, do this and let's make your feed," and helped me. And had I reached out to, I still remember the girl. It's really awesome. She was the little sister of one of my brides. And I reached out and said, "Hey, do you have any sisters by any chance in high school?" And she said, "Oh, I do actually." And this particular girl, to this day, we're still friends. She's probably, gosh, 27-ish by now. We're still friends, and I credit all of it to her because she basically had, "Oh, yeah, I have a couple friends." And they came in and we did like a model type of shoot. And from there, it just took off.
Well, good for you. I
Yeah.
it can be hard to change what you're doing. Like you had been really your mindset was on those weddings and sounds like you changed pretty quickly and easily, which is great.
Yeah. I mean, it was easy, but also at the time, it was a lot of work. Though
Oh,
now it's more work because now there's way more marketing on Instagram and posts and stories and reels.
yeah.
Back then there was only feed posts and it just seemed easier. You could DM anyone. Like the world was just a different
Yeah.
place
It's
back then.
crazy how things change. I remember in the
Yeah.
early days of my photography business, I had a WordPress blog. That was how you put your work out there.
Yes,
People weren't even using Facebook that much at that point. So,
I know, I still have my blog. Actually, it was current up until last year.
oh,
Yeah, and so
wow.
then I just wasn't able to keep up with it. But yeah, so if you go to that, it has not all my work, obviously, but a lot of it and every
Yeah.
senior and
Wow.
everything. Yeah,
So you have an actual studio, don't you?
I do. Brick and mortar, old school.
Okay, tell me about that.
I love it. It's in downtown Tacoma. And just think Tacoma's like a smaller city, so not as big as Seattle. So, and it's old. Like a lot, my building's over 100. So everything has like character. Lights don't work sometimes, I don't have brick walls, but a lot of the people have like brick walls inside and just really cool. Um, and we're coming up on our 8-year anniversary at the studio, which is pretty fun.
Wow.
Yeah, it's awesome, but it's just we do the full service studio, so we have a hair and makeup room, we have a wardrobe room complete with a full style closet of all the clothes for the girls to borrow. It's just a wonderful place. The girls on my team, because I do a senior team, they love to come hang out there. They feel comfortable. We make lots of magic. It's like our own beautiful space, and it's a daylight studio, so you can use window light or you can bring your own lights and use strobes. And I also, my favorite thing is I rent it out to other photographers.
Okay.
And I do that because I like to give back. Because I remember when I was first starting and you can't afford a lot of stuff. And so I keep the pricing on the lower end so people learning can rent it because all you need to know is how to use window light. And that's like my way of, because like if I'm like right now, actually someone's using it because I'm not there. So you might as well let someone else partake. So I love that whole community thing.
That's wonderful. Well, it sounds like a fun place to go hang out at your studio.
Oh, it is. The girls love it. And then they love to come play dress up and try on all the clothes.
Yeah. About how many do you get on your model team every year?
I am for 20. I've learned it's just a good number because I want them to be close to me and me close to them and really get to know them enough where like I know their names, their animals, where they go to school, and we can talk. And so 20 I've felt has just been a really nice number.
In talking with you before, I know that you often go out and do activities with your seniors. You make like a real community out of this model group of yours.
Yeah, it's grown so much in the last 8 years. It's amazing. We call them little group hangs. We did a Galentine's thing, and we've done like ceramic painting, golf, all kinds of fun things. And those are great because none of them involve a professional camera. So
Mhm.
it's literally the purpose is just for the girls to create community, learn to talk with each other in real life, because we know a lot of them only talk like via phones and
Yeah.
social media.
Mhm.
So it's kind of nice. The parents love it, like kind of forcing them to put down your device and actually talk with other people your age.
Wow, that is amazing, Amanda. I think that's so awesome. These girls are not only getting really great senior portraits, but they're getting this whole experience. A lot of photographers like to talk about giving the girls an experience, but sometimes it's just a marketing term. But you really are doing this. It's
Yeah,
almost
because
like a fun little club in a way that they get to be in for a year.
yeah, I'm trying to model it after like sororities. I was never in one, but I asked the girls a lot because many of my girls I keep in contact with when they go off to college and everything. And actually, this year we're creating an alumni handbook. I'm so proud of it, or happy for it to come into fruition. We're going to have like a cute little book, and each page will have their photo as a senior, a current photo, which some of them I've actually taken because I'm come back for photos, and like just info about them and how to connect with them. Because our little thing is, once an AHP girl, always one, and that way you can like connect. So, say for example, you went off to a certain school, like Boise State University is a big one from here.
Mhm.
Um, and you're getting into it and you know no one, you can be like, oh, look, there's two AHP girls that go there, and you already have two friends instantly.
That is wonderful. I think this is so interesting. We might have to do another show sometime just about how you run your model team. But
Yeah, it's fun. And none of it is, I mean, some of it's credit to me, but a lot of it is also just learning from other photographers because I didn't make up any of these ideas. Parents always say, you're amazing, you created this. I'm like, well, I've curated it from other people, but I've taken the idea from the senior community.
I was going to say, I have never, you may have gotten ideas from other people, but you've really put together your own program there. And do you have a name for your model team?
So it's changed over the years.
Okay.
It was a rep team, and then they didn't rep anymore, so it became a model team. But
Yep.
then some parents got confused because they thought their kids were actually like modeling or going to like a modeling school.
Oh, yeah, you don't want that.
Yeah, so I didn't want that because definitely we don't do that. Nothing wrong with that. That's not what we
Yeah,
do.
you need people to know what it is.
Exactly. So then I changed it to photo team or senior, or sorry, senior team first. And I was like, everyone's like, well, what's a senior team? Like, what does that even mean? And I was like, well, let's put the word photo in there. So then we did senior photo team.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know. It'll probably change again. That's
Yeah.
just for next year. It's senior photo team. Um, I
You
slip
know,
into saying model team a
yeah.
lot. I try not to, but I still do.
I just started a winter model program this year. I'd never done anything like that, had no interest in it at all. And then it just one day, I'm like, I kind of want to try it. So I don't do group shoots, but my girls I call the golden girls. And the reason I came up with that is I photograph at sunset a lot, and all that golden light I feel is something that is kind of a hallmark of me and my style. So I just called them the golden girls. And, like Carissa Davis has her flamingos, which I
Yes.
think is really cute. And so, but you don't have like a cutesy name for them.
No, not yet. The people that used to be famous in our area, they back in the day in the early 2000s, they called them the street team. And
Oh,
so a lot of people here know of the street team because they would
oh,
be on the street and
yeah.
handing out flyers per se.
Mhm.
Um, and I love that idea, but obviously I can't really take that,
Yeah,
especially in the same area because it's not cool.
right.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I've thought of ambassadors, but that I don't know. I'm still playing with it, so we'll see
yeah,
over the years. Nothing's come to me yet, so if
yes.
anyone has any suggestions.
Yeah, send them to Amanda. If you've got ideas for us, send them her way. Well, tell me
Exactly.
about your family real quick.
Shockingly, I'm surprised there's no cats left anymore. There's me, my husband, and we have six cats. So normally you'll see one walking through here, but he already left. He was bored.
He was bored.
Yeah, he was like, "Mom's talking. I'm going away."
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. We live up in Washington. We tell everyone Seattle because most people, number one, forget Washington's a state, and then Number two, they don't know where anything is. So I'm about 40 miles south of Seattle, I would say.
Okay. All right. So, well, let's
Yeah,
look at your work and talk about that a little bit.
sounds good.
So, we're starting out with three of your pictures, and I'm just going to run through the three really quick, and then we're going to talk about them. Okay, so heading back to the first one, is this a model team shoot?
This particular photo was actually from her senior session,
Okay.
and I love to share this one. We just did it last summer, so it's really new. It kind of shows how we stay modern with the trends, because I know a lot of seniors, they don't want what you call your parents' photographer. So they always think of that as like a boring posed photo, with your arms crossed or like leaning on a tree or
And on
something.
hip.
Yep. So we don't do those. We do a couple what I call grandma or mom poses where they want to see your whole face and you look at the camera. But my favorite stuff is more of the like fashiony editorial keeping up with things. And last year, for those of us in the senior industry know that flowers were big and bows. So it's fun to show this to the girls when they're picking photographers because they can see like, oh yeah, she knows what's happening. We can still make a really cute photo with the modern things, but also make it look good. And then this is all natural light, which was really fun. We were in this forest, obviously
Do
Washington.
you have a reflector?
Yep. And
Okay.
obviously Washington has a lot of forests and stuff like that because the evergreen state with lots of rain. So,
You
and the
got
sunny,
sunshine. You have
yeah, I was gonna
sunshine.
say, yep. The one thing about Washington is we have to do senior photos in the summer, early fall because we actually have sun.
It's interesting you say that bows and flowers are big. So my girls have been using flowers in their senior portraits for, I mean, maybe all the way back to the class of 2018. So a long time. I've had a lot of flower bouquets in my work, but not very many bows. So I find this very interesting that you saw a trend in your area with bows. I think I had one girl with a bow last year.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know where they get it from because they don't really follow other senior photographers like we do in the industry. Like we
Right.
follow a bunch of our friends and fellow photographers. But yeah, the bouquets just started last year for photos. And the bows, which you can't really see it in her hair, but we do a bunch of photos where they show it, but the big old bow in the hair.
Okay. Well, she looks really cute. I love
Doesn't
the
she?
frame and just the implication of, you're creating a portrait and that's so cute. I love this.
It was fun. So we decided to play with it some more. So after her senior session, we did a styled shoot with her and her friend just for fun. And so that's the next photo that has her, as you can see, it's like a different outfit.
Yeah.
I decided to add some flowers to the frame to
She's
make it.
stepping, she's stepping out of the frame. That's pretty cool.
Yep. And so this is more of like, even though it is a senior, this is not a senior session. This is definitely more of my kind of editorial, fun fashion work. I do a lot of we call them model shoots. They're not model shoots. It's basically the girls modeling for me, so it's not a senior session.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's the way many of us use that term. So I have, I guess, styled shoots is what I call them sometimes.
Yeah, I should say that. I like that. That's nice.
Yeah, but and then we're gonna move. So these girls are on your model team. I recognize, of course, the girl in the frame, but the girl on top is on your model team.
Yep, she was on the year like a year or two before. Actually, she was a 23 or a 24. I think she was a 24.
Yeah.
Um, but it was so fun because it's fun to work with two of them that are friends. They know each other, and then they get really fun photos together. And the collaboration, they wanted water. And so it was a beautiful day in the summer. We had so much fun.
Very cool. We're gonna head back to this one. So I notice in your work, at least some of your work, you really like dark darks. Do you recognize yourself editing in that way?
No, when I do my styled shoots, I tell the girls I don't edit in my normal way, which is like
Mhm.
true to color, true to life.
Yeah.
skin tones are real. On my styled work, I give myself artistic freedom to do whatever the photo tells me. So this day at that location, the sun was going lower, and so that created the really deep shadows through the trees. And then the reflector created the amazing light on her. And so I kind of went with it just for this particular.
Yeah, and I think that's so important for us. A perk of doing these model teams, rep teams, influencers is that you can plan the shoots the way you want. And if you want to edit them differently than you normally do, just for something fresh to for your brain to do, you can do that. And I find it so fun that when I shoot for myself, which is what I tell them when they do their model shoots, styled shoots, I can do whatever I want. If I want to edit in some totally weird way I would never do normally, I do that. It's just fun to try out different things because, you've got the really kind of the black blacks, the dark shadows. You may at some point be like, you know what? I kind of want to move into that a little bit more in my own work. I'm just using this as an example, but
Uh-huh.
try out things with your model team that you wouldn't necessarily feel comfortable doing during a regular senior shoot.
Yes, exactly. So it makes it really fun. And then the girls love it, of course, because they get to have more time behind the camera. And then they get to wear different outfits that they might not normally wear or do different makeup. So it makes it really fun.
Did you style their outfits then? Did you choose what they're wearing?
Yes and no. This particular girl is a dancer. Actually, they both are, but she's a dancer on my current team. And her mom, it's her last baby. So her mom loves to buy clothes for her. So her mom will show up with like 30 outfits to a styled shoot. It is the best thing ever. And I always tell them the more not normal, like obviously you're not going to wear that to school because it's a fancy dress. It makes for more fun with the style shoots because then you're not just wearing like, jeans and a little crop top.
Yeah.
So I want lots of like creativity, lots of fashion, more strange, more offbeat. And we just happened to have two that matched with that same satiny material. And so when we put the two girls in it, it was like magic.
Really? That's amazing that there happen to be two very similar. Or
Yeah,
that
and we didn't plan that. And honestly, that happens to me a lot, Lori. It's really weird. It's like we like to call it one of Amanda's just happy accidents. Like things will just vibe. I try my hardest to make them look like that, but sometimes it just happens. And it's like I created it into existence. It's kind of fun.
that's so cool that you've noticed this pattern.
Yeah, it happens with locations too. Like I find the coolest, weirdest locations, and the girls are always like, "That's so fun." So it's just really neat.
That's really fun. Okay, we are going to move on to the next one. This is so cool. So this is a mural that is painted like a quilt.
Yeah, it's really fun, and it's actually painted blurry. So even though it is a little farther behind her with the depth of field, it actually was like kind of blurry. So it made for a really great background. It's just walking the streets of Tacoma. One of my favorite things to do is when I drive to my studio and back. Every time I drive, I take a different road because murals and random street graffiti pop up all the time. So I'm always, always looking for new locations for photos.
That's really cute. And you've got that full sun going on right there, which is people don't understand. This is tricky to
Yes,
photograph.
and this is found light, which I like, those of us that know that, that's an
Yeah.
important thing. So I didn't have to light her up. I was able to, because I shoot the last 3 to 4 hours before sunset for senior sessions, and this was senior session, that it allows you to find those amazing pockets of that gorgeous highlight.
Also, I think here, and you've done such a good job with it, but I'm sure you're either straight out of camera was a little different in that you've got this area on her pants that was in shadow, and then this upper part of hers in bright sun. And I'm guessing you had to do some work to, or am I wrong, to get these pants
You
looking a
know,
little bit lighter?
for this one, not too much.
Really?
Just luck, yeah, for this one. But I definitely, from my old training, I bring in my portraiture a little bit. And so as you can see, like her nose, it has the loop lighting. And yes, it's not perfect, but I'm not looking for the perfect portrait. I'm looking for a teenager to like more of a modern look, but also still bringing in those cool lightings.
Right. You're photographing her senior portraits. You're not working for a print competition image or something, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is why I left the graffiti. Part of me, that little black part of me every now and then wants
Oh,
to take
yeah.
it away.
Yeah, this part right in here.
Yeah, I debate about it all the time. So we'll see. Maybe in the future I might.
Hmm. I did not ask you, what is your favorite, what gear do you use?
Currently, I've used Nikon my whole career. My dad gave me a Nikon N90S film camera when I was in college, and I think he paid 900 at the time, which in the 90s that was a lot for a
Yeah.
camera. And I was like, what is this thing? It was huge and bulky. And I used it until I went digital. And then now I'm mirrorless. I went mirrorless about 2 or 3 years ago. So I just use the Nikon Z6 IIs and the mirrorless lenses, but I own pretty much every old school lens for my DSLRs. So with my adapter, so I can rock all those. But my go-to with this new camera, I've been in a 50 mode. I kind of went back to like my old days, and
Yeah.
I shoot 90% of my stuff with a 50. And I don't know what it is. I think it's this particular Z lens. Sometimes it's just like a car. You know how you can get a bad car and it's like a lemon? I
Yes.
just got this one lens and it's not even the most wide open one. I think it's a
Not the 1.2.
1.4.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's magical. And I used to be an 85 shooter primarily for seniors, but there's just something about this lens that allows me to capture what I see. I'm sure those of us who actually have taken photography know, but a 50 is what your eyes see naturally. And so for some reason, this is just good. I will do other stuff every now and then to get a little bit more bokeh, but I kind of like
Mhm.
having my backgrounds in there a lot of the time.
That is so interesting. I rarely run into anyone that says a 50 is their go-to.
Yeah, I don't know why. It's been a just with this new system, I'm just in love with it.
I use two lenses. I use a 135 and then I have a 50 as well that I bring out sometimes when I'm wanting more of a editorial look or just something a little edgier. I feel like a 135 is very proper portraiture, and then a
Yes.
50 is a little bit more, you can play with angles and things. So I do use a 50. I just have the 1.8. I want a 1.2 really bad.
Yeah, and you know it's funny, I was
It's very
debating that
expensive.
one. I know, I was debating it, but because mine might be the 1.8, maybe it's the 1.4, I'm not sure. But since I was new to the Z system, I only bought three lenses just to start it to see what it
Yeah.
was like. And I got the 85, which I use every now and then the 24 to 70, which I use when the girls want like more of the field or more of the ocean, because I need more openness. But yeah, this 50 lately, and it's funny because it doesn't, well, I mean, I guess it kind of looks like a 50, but it doesn't look like I don't know, an old school 50. Because I have my old school 50. I have my original 50 that I bought myself at school. And
Okay.
it's the old Nikon. It's all manual. It's really cool.
So there's no autofocus. You have to focus it yourself.
Yeah, I don't really use it much anymore, but I'm never going to sell it because it was my very first lens I bought.
Yes. Okay, I love this. Is this her car?
Her grandpa's car, so it
Okay,
was actually
Grandpa.
really special. Yep.
And I love that she wore the all white jumpsuit and then these amazing orange boots. I love the area you've got her in with the flares and just a really cool shot. So tell me about this shoot.
Yeah, thank you. So this is her senior session. I kind of chose to keep some of the similar photos so you could see the differences.
Yeah.
So this is just the difference of when you go with those photographers that do the longer sessions, that do more outfits, because this is the same girl from before, just the end of her session. And each girl gets to pick where they want to end, obviously, because there's only one sunset a day.
Yes, I have to explain this many times.
Yes. And most of the girls here, because we're by water, we're by the ocean, they want to end in the ocean with the sun setting in the ocean. But Grace did not want to be the normal. So she wanted to end with like a little bit of a field on a dirt road with her grandpa's Corvette and her in a couple different outfits. And I said, let's do it. So she borrowed the boots from the style closet because I have lots of really crazy boots. And we matched her lipstick because she did the option. I call it add a stylist, where the hair and makeup girl comes along and
Oh,
changes your hair and makeup for each location.
hey.
So, like, if you look at the photo we just did, she had her hair up and it was like different. And then
Mhm.
this one, we put it down and changed the lip color. So that way you have a different look for each location.
Wow.
And so that way you can't even tell that this was only like an hour or two later. It's
No,
amazing.
that surprises me.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite features. The girls that do it, it's so worth it, and we love it because you get a look like you went. People think like, oh, you took her for like 10 photo shoots, and I'm like, no, just one day.
Yeah, very cool. I kind of
Yeah.
do that. I don't have a stylist, and my girls, if they want hair and makeup, they just have to go find it on their own. I've never done that, but my one of my longer shoots, I have a morning shoot and an evening shoot on the same day. So in a way, it's like what you're doing, where they can change hair, but they just, you know, they can change between the morning segment and the evening segment. And I like that because I don't know, your summers probably aren't as hot, but here we're often working in like 95 degrees. And if you shoot that whole 3 hour session, like all in one piece, their hair is so sweaty by the end of it. So now that I decided to divide it up, it keeps them fresh a lot better.
Yeah, luckily we do get to 90 sometimes, but not a lot, and it's very rare. And so we don't, some of times they do get hot, but not like that hot. That's not a normal thing for us too
Mhm.
much.
Yeah.
So that helps with that. Yeah, but it's one of the best little add-ons I added.
Mhm.
I'd say maybe 25% added on because it's up to them. It's an add-on feature, so it costs a little bit more.
Is
But
it always the same stylist, hair and makeup person then that goes with you?
yeah, I have currently two girls who work on my team that do all the hair and makeup because they come get it at my studio, or if we're starting somewhere that's a little bit farther of a drive, they have the option of having the stylist come to their house also. And so that is an amazing thing that I've done since day one because I love to have the girls relaxed before their session, not fighting with mom about how to do hair and makeup. I want them to feel pampered. And then when you look good, you just feel good. You know, those days you wake up and you have a good hair day, you're kind of like, oh, I
Yeah.
feel good today.
No, that's great. And another thing that adds stress, which you're alleviating by having women working on the girls who you know and have worked on your seniors many times, is most of my girls do their own hair and makeup or get their friend to do it. But I don't know if it's a regional thing or what, or just me. But if any of them do go to a hair person, this person always runs so late,
Oh no.
like an
Yeah.
hour later than what they say, and then that starts to bump into their shoot and the girls get really stressed, and so you're kind of taking away that issue there.
Yeah, it was one of the things that I really wanted, and I really like when I built this because I've done it from day one and the way I've built it and the way that I do it. So it's one of those options that I really like, and there's certain ones that I like. And every year some things change, but honestly, it just gets better. And all the changes are always for the better because we evaluate at the end of the year like what went well, what didn't go well. Like we've learned to not do unlimited outfits anymore because some of the girls literally take that word and run with it.
Yes, yes. No,
So it's been,
I don't let them do unlimited. You're right, it kind of leads to all sorts of issues.
yeah. So I've kind of almost got it perfected now to a really good flow. So this year will be even better than last year. So,
So when you say we have learned over the years, are you just talking about yourself, or do you have someone that you work with, and do you have an assistant?
so I always have an assistant with me, a lighting assistant, and it's usually a past team member. Sometimes a current one, but not always. I have one girl from my 21 team who every year comes home from college and is like, "Hey, I'm ready to work with you all summer." It's the cutest thing. I love her. And if not, when the days like this one where they add the stylist, we've actually become really good friends. We've been working together for over a decade now. And so she also, besides doing the stylist, since she's there, she knows how to do the reflector. And so she also will just do that instead of having to have a lighting assistant, or we'll bring a lighting assistant on top of that sometimes too. And so it just makes it really fun. And so the two of us are like the two adults with the mom being there. And then, so we kind of, she's not really part of my team, but she is during the summer to a big extent.
And this is your same girl again, right? Is this her senior shoot?
Yep, that was her senior shoot. So that
Okay.
was the same day as her original photo with the frame.
Yeah,
And this was her second bouquet because, of course, she brought at least two or three different ones.
of course.
I know, because so they could all have different colors. Because if you
Yeah.
notice, these flowers have a different color.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and I was kind of showing this one where we did softer light on this one, so a little bit less on the reflector. And then she's very into more moody, and so I actually edited this one just a little bit more dark and moody because she wanted that kind of
Yeah.
look.
Yeah. And you can tell. Sometimes you can tell what the girls want because they give you certain faces.
Oh, yes.
You can direct the faces too, of course, but you can tell a girl who like is just constantly without direction, just giving you the moody faces. You're like, okay, I know what I know what she wants.
Yeah, this is definitely one of my model girls. So
Yeah.
she loves to quote unquote model for sure.
Yes. You are using a reflector here, but you said a little less. It's a really pretty
Yeah.
light. It does look like off-camera flash, I think.
Yeah, it's very flat and even. It's trying to mimic that without having to bring the lights everywhere. But I did get a new light for this summer. I'm super excited. It's so
Really?
adorable. It's a little pink light, and you can just hold it in your hand.
Oh.
And it's one of those new ones where the softbox just like snaps on and kind of folds down. Because as it is, we already bring a wagon full of stuff like, changing tents, reflectors, all this, my gear. And then we've been joking about bringing a second wagon because sometimes all their outfits and boots and props and
Yeah.
stuff, it's kind of funny. But so we're going to play with that a little bit more this year, just for fun, just to bring some more different light into the outside.
So how do you, this little light you're talking about, how do you intend to work with it?
Mostly in the dark, like forests and stuff. Because as you can tell behind her,
Hmm.
once you go into the forests here, it gets pretty dark. And a lot of the kids like the forest because they grew up here and they want to show the forest. And so if you can't find a pocket of light to reflect, you kind of are limited. So we play with lightsabers a lot. They're those, like the sticks that
Like
are,
tube things.
yeah, we like to call them lightsabers because when they hold them, they
Okay.
have a handle. And the assistant loves it because then they're kind of, they like even make the noise. The kids are like, zoom,
Yes.
zoom.
So
But
I have some and I have not taken them out on a shoot, although I've thought about it. So tell me, how do you use them? Do you put one like behind the kid and the for to light up the forest a little bit, or that's one thing I've considered.
yeah, sometimes, but mostly just front and just use it like you normally would in the studio, just as your main light. But the kid that your assistant, especially if it's a teenager, thinks that's the funnest thing because then I also teach them how to see the light. And
Yeah.
so then they get a feeling of like they're learning, but a fun learning, And so I teach them about, okay, if you go too close, watch for the nose shadow, watch for this, pull farther back, and they really enjoy it and they find it like a fun way to they're like, wait, I can do better, or let me get this, and it's really cute.
Very cool. I'm gonna give that a try now that I hear that you've done that outside before. I'm
Oh,
gonna
you should. I love mine. We have at least three of them that we use.
I have thought about putting one like literally right behind them to light up the woods. We don't have forests. We have woods and they're really hard to get into. Do you have a lot of brush? Like with us, it's so hard to walk in between the trees and because there's so much crap that grows on the ground in between the trees that you can barely get in there. But
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, but there's a million paths because everyone
oh,
here is very into like
it's
hiking and
hiking. Yeah.
yeah, Pacific Northwest outdoor activities are huge.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm gonna try that. You have inspired me.
Yeah, you should. I mean, I know your lighting in the studio, as you can see from the light behind you.
Yeah. Old-fashioned alien bee right there.
I know. I got a couple of those. I have a purple one, which all my girls would laugh because everyone knows me as the one that loves purple. So all my stuff has a hint of purple somewhere.
Oh, this is actually a digi-bee. So it is a continuous light and a strobe. You can just turn it whichever mode you want to use, which is so cool. Because
Oh,
then,
that's cool. I didn't know they did that. That's fun.
yeah, and then I can use it as a video light for the podcast, which is pretty cool. So this is in your studio. I'm glad you included a studio picture here.
Yeah, I decided to show a little bit. I've kind of curated this section of my studio. White on white has been really big lately with a lot of photos. It didn't used to be as big, but now everyone wants a white corner in their studio.
Mhm.
And so this one in the summer it's really sunny, so this is natural light. So I'm
Oh,
lucky enough to have an like I said, a daylight or natural light studio. And this is one of those poses that I use for when I do branding and headshots for women. But the teenagers love it because then they get to feel like kind of grown up and it's just super cute. So basically, the light is behind them. That's the windows and the curtain. And then I painted the floor white 2 years ago, and it was the best thing ever. We use it so much. It's adorable. And then this one's actually really fun because this entire outfit is from the style closet. And to me, it's kind of funny. She knows this, but when the Barbie movie came out a couple years ago, we bought this because this is the dress that Barbie wears
oh my
when
gosh.
Margot Robbie plays Barbie. It's like that gingham dress.
Yeah.
And so we used this outfit for the Barbie shoot, but she fell in love with it and it looked adorable on her. So she got a pose for a couple photos in the Barbie outfit.
It's kind of a classic dress.
I know, right? Isn't it adorable? And then what's really fun is you can't tell, but of course the shoes are probably too small. But when you're doing studio work, it's great because you don't have to walk. You
Yeah.
just put them on, take a few photos, take them off.
Yeah.
Because all the shoes that I offer are the stuff you wouldn't wear. So we don't have any, like slides or Adidas or Converse. Everything is the crazy heels, the crazy colors. And the girls love it because they get to kind of play dress up.
Do you have a size you tend to buy for your closet of
You
shoes?
know, I don't. I buy whatever's on
Yeah.
sale because mine as well, right?
Yeah,
And so
exactly.
yeah. And so it just depends. I want to say these guys are a smaller size. And then on average, I try for 8 to 10 just because
Hmm.
some girls, and then some even have bigger than 10 because we get a lot of sport girls that are tall or get bigger feet. So I don't have a definitely an inclusive for everybody, but it's also just whatever
I mean, you can't
fun
have
that
a
we
whole
happen to
shoe
have.
store. You can't be expected to have a whole entire shoe store of a run of each pink shoe in every size
Right.
available, you know?
I know someday,
Yeah,
but not
that'd
yet.
be
So
nice, right?
I know we work our way up to it. So,
Yes. Okay, same girl. Is this
yep,
the same day that she shot in the studio?
yep. So this is kind of the first one was the beginning of her shoot. So we started in the studio, and then the end of it, she was one of the ones. That sun behind her, that's actually the sun hitting the ocean,
Oh,
and so that's why this is all natural light and showing just how fun the sun can be. Because we started off in the studio with the backlighting, and then this is obviously outside backlighting. But when you get that really wonderful, right before the sun goes down, you get this just shine off the ocean. And
hmm.
so it was able to just light her up. And then I did a little bit of a creative editing where I muted the greens a little because the greens were like green. But I felt that because she really likes pinks, I felt it kind of gave it more of a pink kind of pastel
Huh?
feel.
Yeah.
And so that with that, I don't know if they even know that I'm doing it. I just do it because in my head, I saw it that way, and I don't ask them. I just do it.
Now the framing with the plant is really nice, and I'm sure back in photography school you were taught to frame things with natural elements.
Oh, probably. I'm sure my brain does all this stuff
Yeah,
without actually
without
realizing
even
it.
it's
Yeah.
something that I think more people should think about when they're shooting. I just see young kids and they just don't have any, they're photographers and they're just starting out and they never do stuff like this, And but framing with natural elements can be such a great way to put the emphasis on the subject. So I really like this. Now, are you using it? You're using a reflector, I assume.
Probably for this one, we might have had a little white on her.
Yeah.
But honestly, it was that time of night where it could have also been bouncing behind me onto her.
Yeah.
But maybe, I mean, we usually have the girl with it most of the time. Yeah, actually, yes, because you see the catch lights in her eyes.
Oh,
Yeah.
right, right.
That's how I can tell, is you can usually see the reflector and then me standing there. Usually it's hilarious.
It's so funny. Catch lights tell so much of a story, and some people don't really think about that because people will ask me, "Oh, where's your what's your light position on these?" And I'm like, "Okay, if you look at the eyeball, you can see exactly where I have my light. So you can see I've
Yeah.
got a camera left or whatever." And they're like, "Oh, but it's gives you little hints. And I like to do that with other people's work. If I'm scrolling and I see some image, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Is there lighting? And I just like zoom in on the eyeballs to try to get a little,
Yep. Yep. And you can see my legs sometimes, and we always joke it's
yeah.
hilarious because you'll see this little shadow.
Or your whole self sometimes, which is kind of weird.
Oh, yes.
It's like, oh, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see me in there. Okay, this is beautiful. I love her. She went from supernatural here, and this is a pretty natural pose too, into this like editorial fashion model-y looking gal with this pose. And you can tell she's feeling herself right here. She knows she's
Yes.
and looking good.
Yeah, it was wonderful. This is another one of those, a lot of us like to call ourselves light chasers or people, who find the light. So to mom, because the sun was going down, we were about to switch to the beach location. This was taken before the other one. Um, the mom is like sees this dark tunnel and whatever, and of course I see that one pocket of light that was coming out in our little rose arch, and so I was like, "Oh my gosh, quick, quick, come to this one little pocket." And
Yeah.
so we get her perfectly in that pocket because the roses matched her dress, and I always tell them whatever prompt, like, feel like a model or show off the dress or
Yeah.
whatever I happen to say. And it was just literally perfect. And obviously, I'm sure we're reflecting to pop it back up just because she's so well lit, I would
Yeah.
assume. Yeah.
And you've got all these wonderful framing elements here and the leading lines and all that. And the way the path just comes right, towards hers. It's a really lovely portrait. And I really hope that they got this one printed big.
Right? I know for sure. I like it too. It's
Yeah.
our famous rose arch we have here.
Okay. It's in Tacoma area then?
Yeah, we have this beautiful big park, and right in the middle of the park is the Rose Gardens. And what's great about it is it's fenced, and so none of the deer or animals can get into it. So all the roses always stay beautiful.
Nice.
And so for one of our places to shoot, everyone in the area goes there just because they have hundreds of colors of roses. It's amazing.
Do you have to wait in line at this place to get portraits
Nope.
sometimes?
And
Really?
it's still free, knock on wood, as of now. It's really funny in the summer. You'll pass a lot of your fellow photographer friends. Like we'll always be like, "Hi," and you'll see lots of seniors everywhere just because there's only the one rose garden in the whole
Yeah.
area.
It is fun to see other photographers out and about with their seniors. It makes you feel like you're part of this big thing, which we are. Every year it's like a rite of passage for kids to hit senior year, and they get to do these portraits. And most of them many of them have never had a solo shoot before. And
Oh yeah, for
the
sure.
girls spend years looking forward to this. And so when I'm out in the city, I see other photographers, whether I know them or not, and I just see all these kids. I'm just like, oh, I just love being part of all this.
Yeah, it's amazing. Once in a blue moon, the kids will actually walk past each other or know of each other, and that is amazing. When they'll be like, "Oh my God, hi." It's so cute.
So, Amanda, it has been so fun going through your photography with you and learning about how you found yourself in this profession that we both do. And I thank you so much for coming on and just sharing your story with everyone.
Well, awesome. Thank you. I'm so glad I reached out to you when I saw your awesome New Year's Eve shoot.
I am too. I've enjoyed getting to know you and seeing your work on Instagram. I really enjoy it. So I will see you around the internets.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay.